At the end of World War II, the world was left to uncover the secrets of a regime that had sought to dominate Europe and reshape history. Nazi Germany, under Adolf Hitler, was a machine of war, obsession, and unparalleled secrecy. From underground bunkers to experimental weapons, from looted treasures to technological marvels, the remnants of the Third Reich have revealed chilling insights into the extent of their ambitions. Over the decades, historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have stumbled upon hidden structures, secret laboratories, and personal artifacts that shed light on both the grandeur and the darkness of the Nazi regime. Personal artifacts of the Nazi elite. Among the first discoveries were personal items belonging to the leaders themselves. Adolf Hitler's Walther PPK pistol, found in his Berlin bunker, became a symbol of the man who had orchestrated a continent-wide war. Hermann Göring's ring, adorned with Nazi symbols, hinted at the cult of personality that permeated the upper echelons of power. Even Hitler's luxurious personal train, outfitted as a mobile headquarters and equipped with the finest furnishings and state-of-the-art communication tools, was uncovered, offering a glimpse into the life of a man who feared assassination at every step. Underground fortresses and secret residences. Yet these artifacts were only a fraction of what remained hidden. Massive underground complexes like Project Riese in Poland, designed as secret military headquarters, revealed the scale and paranoia of the regime. The Burghof, Hitler's Alpine residence in Bavaria, the Fuhrerbunker in Berlin, and other clandestine locations were more than simple residences. They were fortresses, laboratories, and command centers. They were symbols of a regime obsessed with control, secrecy, and technological advancement. The Wolf Lair, Hitler's Eastern Front headquarters. Among these discoveries, the Wolf Lair in East Prussia, now in modern-day Poland, stands out as one of the most notorious. Hitler's first military headquarters on the Eastern Front, the Wolf Lair was an immense network of bunkers, barracks, and security zones, hidden deep within dense forests. Constructed as the nerve center for Operation Barbarossa, the attack against the Soviet Union, it comprised over 80 buildings, 50 heavily fortified bunkers, sniper nests, barbed wire defenses, and labyrinthine underground tunnels. The Wolf's Lair was designed to withstand both human and aerial assaults, reflecting Hitler's extreme paranoia. One of the most famous events to take place here was the July 20th, 1944 assassination attempt on Hitler, known as Operation Valkyrie. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg placed a bomb in a briefcase within the Führer's conference room. Though the explosion killed 4 people and injured many, Hitler survived, reinforcing the elaborate security measures and adding new layers of fortifications. Today, visitors walking through the ruins of the Wolf's Lair see the massive concrete slabs and collapsed bunkers that hint at both its strategic importance and the desperate efforts of retreating troops to erase its secrets. Project Riese, the Labyrinth of Terror. While the Wolf's Lair remains iconic, Project Riese, also called Project Giant, is another staggering example of Nazi engineering. Located in the Owl Mountains of Lower Silesia, Poland, this enormous network of tunnels and underground chambers was built between 1943 and 1945, using forced labor from concentration camps. Historians debate its purpose. Some suggest it was intended to house a secure command center or a replica of the Fuhrerbunker. Others propose it was meant for the development of advanced weaponry or storage of strategic resources. Today, the unfinished labyrinth stretches for kilometers, its dark corridors echoing with the suffering of the thousands of prisoners who worked under brutal conditions. Ventilation shafts, armored doors, and even railway tracks indicate the scale of the design, aimed at withstanding bombings and maintaining operational secrecy. Flak towers and the protection of civilians. Above ground, the flak towers of Berlin, Vienna, and Hamburg stand as monolithic reminders of the Third Reich's final years. Constructed to protect civilians from Allied air raids, these towers combine anti-aircraft weaponry, radar equipment, and living quarters for thousands. In Berlin alone, 3 flak towers rose up to 70 meters high, housing heavy artillery and providing shelter to approximately 10,000 civilians. They also stored ammunition, classified documents, and priceless cultural artifacts. Despite sustained Allied bombing, their thick concrete walls survived, demonstrating the exceptional engineering skills the Nazis employed even in the war's final stages. Looted treasures and cultural preservation. The Nazis' obsession with safeguarding cultural treasures extended far beyond these towers. One of the most remarkable hoards was found in the Altaussee salt mine in Austria. Here, thousands of stolen paintings, sculptures, and artifacts were hidden, including works by Michelangelo, Van Dyck, and Camille Bernier. These treasures, intended to become part of a post-war Nazi cultural empire, were preserved with elaborate care. Wooden crates, waterproof tarpaulins, and protective walls. When the war neared its end, the SS ordered their destruction to prevent Allied recovery. However, local miners, organized into a quiet resistance, sabotaged these plans, saving countless masterpieces. After liberation, Allied forces and the monument's men recovered and cataloged these treasures, preserving an irreplaceable part of Europe's cultural heritage. Among the most enduring mysteries is the disappearance of the Amber Room. Originally created in the 18th century, this room, adorned with 6 tons of amber panels, gold sculptures, and precious gemstones, was a masterpiece gifted to Tsar Peter the Great and installed in the Catherine Palace. In 1941, Nazi forces dismantled it and transported it to Königsberg Castle, from where it vanished without a trace. Theories abound. It may have been hidden in bunkers, sunk aboard a ship, or scattered across Europe. Despite extensive searches, including the recovery of some fragments, the fate of the original Amber Room remains unknown, fueling decades of intrigue and treasure hunting. Weapons of mass destruction and technological ambitions. The Nazi pursuit of technological superiority extended to weapons of mass destruction. In Haigerloch, southwestern Germany, Nazi scientists attempted to build a nuclear reactor using heavy water, inspired by the American Manhattan Project. Led by Werner Heisenberg, the team worked in secrecy under constant threat of Allied discovery. Although the reactor was close to completion, the advancing Allied forces ultimately seized and dismantled it in Operation Alsos, preventing the possibility of a Nazi atomic bomb. The remains of this laboratory now serve as a chilling museum, reminding visitors of how close humanity came to facing a nuclear-armed Third Reich. Similarly, vast treasure hoards like those in the Merker salt mine reveal the economic underpinnings of the Nazi regime. As Allied forces approached, the Nazis attempted to hide enormous quantities of gold, currency, and confiscated valuables, much of it stolen from Jews, Romani people, and other victims. The discovery of these caches, including vast amounts of gold bars and coins, exposed the systematic looting and financial operations that funded Hitler's war machine. Allied documentation of these finds was later crucial in war crimes trials, highlighting the intersection of greed and violence that characterized the regime. The dangers of Nazi technology were not limited to treasure and conventional weapons. In February 1945, the German submarine U-864 embarked on Operation Caesar, transporting liquid mercury and high-grade aircraft components to Japan. Intercepted by the British submarine HMS Venturer, it became the scene of the only recorded submarine versus submarine battle in history. The German vessel sank, releasing 67 tons of toxic mercury into the ocean, a disaster that required decades of environmental containment. Even underwater, the legacy of Nazi ambition continued to threaten human and environmental life. Adding to the intrigue are tales like the Nazi gold train, allegedly loaded with treasures and stolen art, which vanished in Poland during the final days of the war. While historians debate whether the train truly existed, the story persists, fueled by treasure hunters, unexplored tunnels, and secret railway passages. Whether fact or legend, it highlights the chaotic desperation of the Nazi regime as it crumbled under Allied and Soviet advances. The Nazis also experimented with extraordinary and sometimes fantastical technology. Projects like Die Glock, the Bell, and the Horten Ho 229 flying wing foreshadowed stealth bombers and anti-gravity concepts. While documentation is scarce and much is speculative, recovered blueprints and eyewitness accounts hint at a regime willing to explore the edge of science fiction in its bid for ultimate power. The Horten Ho 229, in particular, with its jet-powered flying wing design, represents one of the first attempts at reducing radar detection, inspiring modern stealth aircraft decades later. Missile development at Peenemünde remains one of the most historically significant contributions of Nazi Germany. Under Werner von Braun, the V-1 and V-2 rockets were designed to strike England and other targets with unprecedented range and precision. The testing and production facilities, although heavily bombed by the Allies, laid the foundation for both American and Soviet space programs in the post-war era. Even today, the remnants of these facilities stand as stark reminders of the dual-use nature of technological progress, capable of both exploration and destruction. Remote fortifications and forced labor. On the Channel Islands, Nazi occupation left behind complex fortifications, underground bunkers, and artillery emplacements. These structures, built by forced labor under harsh conditions, were designed to withstand prolonged sieges and protect strategic points in the Atlantic. When liberated in May 1945, Allied soldiers discovered intact bunkers and extensive tunnel networks, illustrating the thoroughness with which the Nazis fortified even remote territories. The systematic theft of valuables extended into urban centers like Frankfurt, where Jewish possessions, wedding rings, gold fillings, and cultural artifacts were hidden in vaults and abandoned factories. Allied forces painstakingly cataloged these items, but many records were destroyed, leaving numerous objects unclaimed. These discoveries underscored the human cost of Nazi enrichment and the deep dehumanization inflicted on millions. High in the Bavarian Alps, the Eagle's Nest exemplifies the combination of luxury and militarization characteristic of Hitler's retreats. Built as a 50th birthday gift and located atop a mountain, it was accessible via a luxurious elevator and hosted meetings of Nazi leadership. Despite its grandeur, the site was captured with relative ease, and today it serves as a tourist destination, offering panoramic views and a window into the life of a dictator surrounded by opulence and secrecy. In the Harz Mountains, the Nazis moved weapons production underground, forcing prisoners to work in extreme conditions to manufacture small arms, tank parts, and ammunition. These hidden factories illustrate the extremes of human exploitation and the deadly consequences of war-driven industrial ambition. Prisoners endured brutal conditions, with thousands dying from exhaustion, exposure, and chemical hazards, highlighting the moral cost of the Nazi war machine. Central Germany's Thuringia region saw the construction of Mittelwehr, a massive underground complex intended as a fallback location for the Nazi High Command. Comprised of tunnels, chambers, and reinforced facilities, it remains partially unexplored. Historians speculate that it could have housed weapons research or a command center akin to the Vorbunker. Mittelwehr exemplifies the desperation and resource investment of a regime on the brink of collapse, mobilizing thousands for projects that were ultimately never operational. Finally, Mittelbadora, located in the Harz region, was a notorious V-2 rocket factory built underground. Using forced labor, primarily Jews, the Nazis pushed production relentlessly, disregarding human life. Prisoners worked in hazardous conditions for long hours with scarce food, medicine, or ventilation. When American forces arrived in April 1945, they found evidence of the brutal exploitation: partially assembled rockets, technical blueprints, and mass graves nearby. The site illustrates both the technological ambitions and the human tragedy underpinning the Nazi war effort. The enduring legacy. These discoveries, from weapons to treasures, fortifications to secret projects, paint a picture of a regime consumed by paranoia ambition, and cruelty. The remnants of Nazi Germany, scattered across Europe, continue to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and the public alike. They reveal not only the technological and logistical ingenuity of the Third Reich, but also the human cost of its ruthless pursuit of power. Exploring these sites today, whether through ruins, underground tunnels, or museums, offers a haunting reminder of how far ambition and ideology can stretch and the darkness that can accompany it. The stories of the Wolf Lair, Project Riese, the Merkers Mine, the Amber Room, Heigerloch, Peenemünde, and countless other sites continue to be uncovered, analyzed, and debated. Each discovery deepens our understanding of a regime that sought control over both people and history, leaving behind a legacy of innovation entwined with horror. These sites serve not only as historical lessons, but as enduring warnings. The pursuit of power at any cost leaves a trail of destruction, secrecy, and untold human suffering. As we continue to explore, excavate, and research these locations, new mysteries emerge. Whether it is tunnels that vanish beneath the earth, treasure trains that may never be found, or blueprints for weapons that were never built, Nazi Germany's hidden past remains an inexhaustible source of fascination. For historians, enthusiasts, and the public, the quest to uncover the Third Reich's secrets is both a journey through history and a stark reflection on the consequences of unchecked ambition, technological experimentation, and human cruelty. If you found this journey into history fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to uncover more hidden stories from the past. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Which secret would you most want to explore next?